it's Webs here, and there's been a colossal amount of Hearthstone news revealed today, including the new set, Voyage to the Sunken City, which leaked out actually yesterday, but we won't talk about that. And there's been some new mercenaries also revealed, but that will be in a separate video. So let's dive into this new set. The first new keyword for the set is Colossal, which is a type of minion that actually takes up multiple slots on the board, where different parts of the individual minion will actually have different synergy with the main body of the minion in question. This is actually something I've seen suggested quite a bit throughout the years of playing Hearthstone, where a minion would take up multiple slots instead of taking up one, as a way to actually have a really big minion that could be very impactful. It's cool to see it's finally added to the game, because there are a lot of big beasties in the Warcraft oceans, so it's definitely going to be one of those mechanics that you can't tell until all of the cards get revealed for it. The second keyword is Dredge, which allows you to look at the bottom 3 cards of your deck and place one of them at the top. So this is kind of similar to the idea that I had for the set when I saw it got leaked out. I thought there might be a keyword called something like Dive, where you looked at the top X amount of cards of your deck and then put one at the top of your deck. But I think this is a more unique way to actually doing scrying in Hearthstone, which is something that we haven't done, even though that's a key mechanic in a lot of other card games that exist out there, and it should be a lot of fun to actually play around with. The last new thing in the set is the new tribe Naga, which are the main citizens of the Sunken City we're visiting, and it shows a continued support to certain minion types, actually focusing on an individual mechanic within Hearthstone as their key identity, in this case being a spell focused minion type, similar to how Billboards were really a death rattle focused minion type. We're going to do this first video a little bit out of order. We're going to start with the neutral cards first, especially because the first neutral card we actually get for free. This card in question being Blademaster Okani, which is a neutral legendary that has the battle cry secretly choose a counter to the next minion or spell your opponent plays while this is alive, with 4 cost, 2 attack, and 6 HP. So this is one of those cards where I think it looks really good on paper, but in actual practice, it's probably not that good overall. If you can predict what your opponent's going to play, sure, it's great. But if they have enough minions to actually just kill this straight out on turn 4, before they actually play another minion or another spell, then it's not going to actually do anything because of its clause. It has to be alive, which I guess is the reason why they added the clause, just to make it less consistent than just being a control tool altogether. The next card in question that has been revealed today is Tuskarr Traveler, which is a 2-cost neutral minion with 2 attack and 3 HP with the battle cry Dredge, and it is a pirate. So the good thing about this set is, because it's an underwater expansion, I'm assuming we're going to see probably a lot of pirates, which means Questline Warrior is actually going to be a lot worse after this set. I don't know if that was the intention, but this could in theory make that deck a lot worse, especially because you're adding a bunch of minions that probably will have a bunch of battle cries. Overall, I think this is a nice introduction to Dredge as a mechanic, as Dredge again is the mechanic that allows you to look at the bottom 3 cards of your deck and then place one at the top of the deck, which this should be a well-statted minion to actually see some type of play even outside of a pirate warrior deck, and should add some consistency to the next card that actually got revealed, which is Ambassador Faelin, who is a 4-cost neutral minion with 4 attack and 5 HP. With the battle cry, put 3 colossal minions at the bottom of your deck. Without seeing the rest of the colossal minions, we have no idea what this card is actually going to do in the meta. However, with the 2 that we have seen so far, it seems like a decent enough card to maybe see some play in a deck that you're not trying to run a bunch of minions, or you can easily get this out of the deck really quickly and then use cards like the last card that was revealed in order to instantly draw into the 3 colossal minions that you actually are generating off of him. And there's probably some other ways to duplicate his battle cry or make additional copies, which should be an interesting idea to explore. It really just depends on how good the colossal minions actually are overall, if he'll see any type of play. But I think he will be at least a really fun build around card for certain classes that can actually easily get him out of the deck. And speaking of Colossus cards, the next card that got revealed is Colaque, who is the Colossus for Druid, which is a 7-cost minion with 6 attack and 5 HP. That has a Colossal of +1 and immune while you control his shell. And the shell is a 5 cost minion, which you're probably never going to see, but it is what it is. 0 attack and 8 HP, which has taunt and the death rattle. Gain 8 armor, which should help Druid a lot, since Druid is losing a lot of its armor game whenever the new rotation actually happens. This might actually help questline Druid a bunch, but then again, questline Druid might just fade out of existence because a lot of the attack game in Druid is rotating out, especially if they do decide to rotate out some of the attack game in the core set too. That's really one of those questlines that I don't know how big of a future it's going to have, as long as we don't know what cards are actually going to rotate out of the core set or not, because as it currently stands, I think Druid actually has the most to lose whenever the new core rotation actually happens. And if this is anything to tell, we probably are going to go towards more of a control style of Druid anyways in the future, but who knows if that's going to outpace something like the current Dragon Druids that actually exist with Kazakhstan. And now time for the second Colossus that got revealed today, which is Colaque of the Abyss, which is a 7 cost minion with a 3 attack, 6 HP, and is a demon with a Colossus of 4, which means we're not going to only see minions that take up 2 spots, but we could see one that takes up the entire board. And at the start of the turn, you increase the damage of his stocks by 1, which he has 4 of these. That does 1 damage at the end of the turn to a random enemy. Now, since Philosophy is sadly rotating out, you won't have that many ways to duplicate this in Demon Hunter as it currently stands, but there is the new sigil from Alterac Valley that you could use to summon this out early on in the game, though it does make me beg the question if it gets the Colossus no matter what, even if it isn't directly played and it's just summoned by some additional card effect. It really depends on what we actually see for additional cards for Demon Hunter, but it does look like Big Demon Hunter is going to continue to get some support, and maybe we will finally see that deck as a fully functional meta relevant threat, though it really just depends on what other cards we see within the set. And you can discount this with the quest line, which is actually pretty nice, but you can do that with a bunch of other cards. This should be a really cool card, maybe for a proving ground deck even, where you try to summon this out and it being the biggest minion so you can get an entire board on like turn 6 or something. There's a lot of ideas that you can do with this, and I'm really looking forward to playing around with this card. The next card in question is Serpent Wig, which is a 1 cost spell for priest that gives a minion +1/+1, and if you played a Naga while holding this, add a Serpent Wig to your hand. So this shows some synergy directly with the Naga tribe already, which is actually pretty cool to see. I think they said there were going to be other cards that also have similar effects to this revealed in the future, so it should be interesting to see which class actually wins out when it comes to the Nagas. My bet is going to probably be Mage, because Mage is the stereotypical spell-based class, and Mage did get Ajara as the alternate portrait for pre-ordering this new set. Overall, I think this is probably a decent card, but I don't know how much play it'll see unless we see a bunch of Nagas where its condition isn't that hard to be met, because this could in theory be a infinite card generation if you have enough Nagas to actually play down. And the next card on the list is Paladin's first card, and it should be a familiar face for anyone who plays Mercenaries. Shimmering Sunfish, which is a 3 cost Paladin minion with 2 attack, 5 HP, and is a beast with the battle cry. If you're holding a holy spell, gain taunt and divine shield. So this condition is actually incredibly easy for Paladin to actually achieve, as most of Paladin's spells are actually just holy if they have any school to them at all, and I very much doubt we're going to see any type of other school added to Paladin anytime soon. So a card like this is probably going to end up seeing a lot of play just because it is a well-statted minion and is at a very good cost when it comes to being played on curve, and a very good target to try to buff up as a way to make him even better and even more annoying to remove from the board. And now time for Rogue's card, Bootstrap Sunken, which is a 5 cost pirate with 4 attack and 4 HP, With the combo, put an enemy minion on the bottom of your opponent's deck. So this is one of those cards that looks really great on paper, and then you remember Dredge was introduced in the same set as this card, which makes this a card a lot worse, especially if your opponent is playing cards to actually dredge from the bottom of their deck. It really depends on how much more synergy we see from Dredge as an overall mechanic to put things at the bottom of your deck if this card is actually going to see play, though it is a cool little removal tool for Rogue, which is a class that usually suffers from not actually having any removal tools, though it is an AoE, which is something that Rogue actually really needs when it comes to removal tools. It should be a nice little card to try to make a control Rogue deck work, though it does make Pirate Warrior a lot worse, which is a really good sign. And now it's time for some of the Mage cards revealed. The first one being Spell Coiler, which is a 2-cost 2 attack 3 HP Naga minion with the battle cry. If you cast a spell while holding this, discover a spell. So this is one of those cards that will probably see a lot of play because it is a 2-for-1 and a really easy condition to actually fulfill, similar to the Sunfish shown for Paladin. And if Mage is the class that is going to get a bunch of Naga support, something like this is probably going to see a lot of play, especially if there's some really big payoff for Nagas, which I would very much doubt there wasn't going to be, especially because Ajar being a key central figure and she's never actually had a card for herself, even though we've had 2 Old God themed sets. So overall, I would say this is probably pretty decent and we'll probably see some play. It doesn't really matter what spell you discover off of this. The next card revealed is a Blast from the Past that supports Mech Mage, which is actually a big shock. We haven't seen Mech Mage in quite a while. The minion in question is a Zarin Sweeper, which is a 3-cost mage minion with 3 attack, 4 HP, and is a mech that has the battle cry, put a Sunken Sweeper on the bottom of your deck. And a Sunken Sweeper adds 3 mechs to your hand, so I'm assuming we're probably going to see a bunch more mechs within the set, which kind of makes sense. We are at the bottom of the ocean, and there's a lot of technology in the Warcraft universe, so why not have some type of mech synergy introduced in the set, though this could be future-proofing for later sets too. It really just depends. Though with the amount of mechs that are currently in standard, I don't know how useful a card like this is going to be. You could, in theory, generate Sneed a lot of the time just because there is a low number, but if they introduce a bunch of mechs in this set, this card will probably get a lot worse if you can't actually consistently get Sneed out of the battlecry of Sunken Sweeper. Though if they do introduce a bunch of new mechs, this could be a lot less consistent than it currently is. It really just depends on how many mechs we see within this new set, but my assumption would be we probably will see at least one more legendary mech minion for the set if this is one of the first cards they're going to reveal, either in Mage or Neutral. It really just depends on how the set actually shapes up overall, though I think this will be a really cool idea to revisit, especially because we haven't seen Mech Mage in quite a few years. And finally, the last card revealed today is Bloodscent Vilefin, which is another Blast from the Past. It's a Warlock Murloc that has 4 attack, 4 HP, and costs 4, and it has the battle cry Dredge. If it's a Murloc, change its cost to health instead of mana. It's really interesting to me. We're seeing another health instead of mana card in Warlock, even though we had Gahoon in Priest, which will forever annoy me, even though it's rotating out with this set. It is really cool to see some ideas that were visited in the past of Hearthstone, such as Murloc Warlock being supported, but it doesn't really shock me too much that we're seeing Murloc Warlock supported in here, just because we are at the bottom of the ocean. So what demons are you actually going to find at the bottom of the ocean? It's probably going to be an interesting card if we actually see a bunch of support for that type of deck, though it really depends on how many neutral Murlocs we actually see in this set and how many non-neutral Murlocs we actually see in the set, and what other cards that Warlock will actually get to support this overall deck idea. Though if this is the first Warlock card we're seeing, I almost would want to bet that the Colossus for Warlock is probably going to be a giant Murloc, which would be really funny, especially just because of how Murloc and Warlock almost rhyme. Alright, so those are all the cards that have been revealed today. Let me know what you're looking forward most to in this set. And like always, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, bye bye.